Kendra from Crafty Kendra, and today I'm going to show you how to make this card, so let's get started. The first thing you're going to do is bring in a piece of not quite navy, and this piece measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. And this is the texture cardstock, so it's textured on one side, and on the other side it's smooth. We're going to use the textured side. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring in this border stamp, and this border stamp comes from the Plain and Simple stamp set, and I have the rest of the stamps from the set out because that's all we'll be using today. And the Plain and Simple stamp set is in the Occasions mini catalog right now. Going to ink up our border stamp, and what we're going to do is we're going to stamp it twice towards the bottom of this paper with the diagonals going down. And I mean the diamonds, sorry. Okay. We're gonna do it again. Okay. Then what we're gonna do is set that stamp aside. We're gonna take our ink pad and we're going to slide our paper across it to get a more distressed look. Since it has the texture, because it's the texture cardstock, you get a different look than you do if you were to sponge it with this sponge, and I like this look for the texture cardstock. Okay, so then we got it textured all around. And we're going to take it and set it aside. Next thing I'm going to do is bring in a piece of Pear Pizzazz, and it's cut at 3 3/4 by 3 inches. And we're going to take one of the 3 3/4 sides, and we're going to rip about 1/4 inch off. So it has a ripped bottom. Then we're going to take a piece of In Color Designer Series paper, and this is from the paper pack that is a Hostess benefit choice, and it measures 3 1/2 by 2 1/2. You're going to take and you're going to rip just a little off of its bottom as well. And after you're done ripping both of these pieces, you're going to take your chocolate chip ink pad and you're going to distress the edges just like you did on your not quite navy piece. And when you get down to your rip side, you're just going to rub it along there so that just some of it gets dirty. We're going to take these pieces and set them aside. Oh, we're going to bring in a 3 inch by 2 inch piece of very vanilla cardstock. And we're also going to bring in my vellum sheet that has the airplane stamped on it, and my Stamp-A-Majig. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the airplane centered on the 2 inch side, but more towards the right on the 3 inch side. Okay. Get it where I want it. Hold my vellum down, take my Stamp-A-Majig and move it to the vellum to get the vellum into the crook. remove the vellum, ink up my airplane stamp. Goes in the top of the crook of the Stampin' Jig and straight down, straight up. That way we got it exactly where we want it. Now we're going to do the same thing with the happy birthday greeting at the bottom. Place the happy birthday greeting where we want it. Pull down our vellum, bring our Stampin' Jig to the vellum so that it gets stuck on the vellum with it in its crook. Ink up our stamp. Stamp goes in the top of the crook of the Stampin' Jig, straight down, straight up. We have happy birthday where we want it. Now what we're going to do is bring in the spiral border punch. We're going to take our punch and flip it upside down and center the side that we didn't stamp on in there and punch so that we get a nice border along our left side of our little stamped piece. I'm going to grab my crumb cake ink pad and I'm going to ink up its edges the same way I inked up the other one. Okay, so that's what it looks like. I'm going to take these ends here and just rough them up a little bit. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start adhering our layers. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the piece that we just stamped our airplane on, flip it over, grab our snail and run snail on the right side of our punched piece. We don't want to put any adhesive on those punched pieces. And put snail on the rest of it. This piece gets adhered to our in color pattern paper. And I like to leave it with a little bit more of a border of the pattern paper on the left side. Take this and run snail on the back of it. This piece gets layered on top of your Pear Pizzazz piece that we sponged, and it should be adhered evenly. Snail on the back of this. And this gets adhered to our piece of Not Quite Navy, and it goes on the top. Okay. Now what you're going to do is grab a piece of Pear Pizzazz stitched poly ribbon, and it's about 14 inches long. And what we're going to do is we're just going to tie a knot, and it's left over right, and then right over left, pull more with the left than the right. Okay, and you can just mess with your tails to get them how you want them. Okay, and when you got your knot how you want it, you're just going to take your ribbon scissors and trim the tails. what I do then is I take a mini glue dot and my paper piercer, and I put one mini glue dot underneath one of the sides that has the knot by it to keep that in place. Going to flip this over, and I'm going to put mini glue dots in the corners. And a few in the middle. And the reason I'm using mini glue dots instead of snail is because our ribbon is a little bit thicker than our cardstock, so it makes a little bit of a bulk there. And this snail will just make the mini glue dots will just make sure it stays down. This is our card base, and I thought I'd show you it unscored. Unscored, it measures 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and all you do is fold it in half, and because I'm going along with the fibers in the cardstock, I don't have to worry about pre-scoring. It'll come out fine. But if I were going against the fibers of the cardstock, I would need to score so that it wouldn't crack. Just going to take this panel of Not Quite Navy and line it up on the card base and press it down. And there you go. A quick, easy guide card using the Plain and Simple set from the Occasions Mini Catalog. And that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks.